Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. If you do not know who I am, my name is Paloma, my artist name is Paloma the Peach, and for today, as you can tell, I'm going to be going over my new and updated process for making stickers from home. So if you are new here or kind of new here, you may not know that I actually have been making stickers for over 5 years now, and I used to make them at home whenever I first started. I moved to manufacturing for many years, and I have sort of come full circle and started making them at home again. Now, the reasons why I don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of intro stuff, but the reason why essentially is just like I am spending a lot of money on stickers monthly, and there comes a certain point where like the amount of stickers that you're buying is sort of costing you way too much on a month-to-month basis. At least that's what's happened to me. So I have decided that investing in some equipment and not having to do those higher costs every month would be a better option. So let's go over some of the equipment that I decided to get. When I first started making stickers, I was using a Canon photo printer. I don't think they make the model that I used to use. I'm pretty sure it's discontinued, but I think it was between like $30 to $60. I don't remember because I feel like it also used to go on sale, but it was a very inexpensive printer. But it was Canon and it was a photo printer, so I knew that the colors would come out super rich and accurate to how my artwork looked on my iPad. And I also used to use a Cricut Explorer cutting machine, which Cricut I feel like is the biggest brand when it comes to cutting machines, at-home cutting machines. And it worked for what I needed it to at the time, but I sort of outgrew it, which is why I moved on to manufacturing. But for the equipment that I decided to get to come back to sticker making at home is the Epson ET8550. That is the printer that I chose. It's a large format printer, so it can print larger than your standard 8.5 by 11 inch paper. And the other notable thing is that it is an eco tank. I think that eco tanks are really great when it comes to saving money on ink. Whenever I was using my Canon printer, I was buying ink almost weekly because when you're printing artwork, you're using such saturated colors most of the time that you are going to go through your ink so fast. And if you have had a printer at home before, you know that printer ink gets so expensive. So EcoTank is definitely the way to go. And for my cutting machine of choice, I decided on the Caesar Juliet cutting machine. I had been eyeing this for a while because, again, I was sort of like marinating on this idea that I wanted to make stickers at home again. And then I saw that my friend had this cutting machine, and I was like, this is the sign for me to dive in and get this cutting machine. And I'm very pleased with it. I'm gonna get into exactly why I like this cutting machine specifically. So a key difference when it comes to this Caesar cutter in comparison to like a Cricut. I'm going to be mentioning these comparisons a lot because the experience that I have had is with Cricuts, and I know that Cricuts are also more economically accessible. So I feel like maybe if you've been a crafter for a while, you know maybe the ins and outs of a Cricut, but essentially the Caesar is much more, I would say it's much more simplified, and it's also much more customizable. So the interface for Caesar comes with your machine whenever you buy it. You download it onto any desktop computer, and it is extremely simple to get the hang of. I feel like I watched maybe 2 YouTube videos and I was like, good to go. I know exactly how to use this interface now. It is visually extremely simple, so there's not a lot of super complicated buttons and symbols everywhere that you don't know what they mean. I think after a couple of uses, you will really nail the program down like I did. I don't do super complicated tech stuff. Like, I am much more hands-on, and the Caesar creative interface was very easy for me to learn. Some other pluses that I really enjoy: the noise is very minimal. I would not say that it's super loud. I was so used to my Cricut being extremely loud, extremely loud, and it was really grating. Like, I would have to have music playing pretty loudly all day because I was just like hearing this cutting machine functioning all day long, especially because it was so slow at doing my cutting jobs too. That's the other thing with the Caesar. You can adjust the speed, which is really nice and it is fast. Like, I was extremely impressed at how fast this machine cuts and also like reads the calibration lines and everything. Speaking of calibration, there actually is no calibration, at least not that I've had to do with this Caesar before. So there is some test cuts where you can test like the pressure of the blade and how you're adjusting it on the interface, but there is no calibration. There's no need for like having your machine polish up how well it's cutting. That's like the number one downside to like a machine like a Cricut, because I was having to calibrate probably every 20 sheets, because every 20 sheets it would start cutting slightly skewed or slightly off, and I was always just ruining sheets of paper. I was always having to reprint more and more and more because I would have so many inconsistencies and mistakes with my cutting machine. And with this one, she's extremely consistent. Like, normally if something is very slightly off, it's because I did not orient the blade properly, and when we get into the tutorial I will show you guys how exactly I do that. But suffice to say, I'm very impressed with this Caesar machine. If you've been thinking about it and you feel like it'll be a good investment, then I say go for it. The price that I personally got these two machines at, I got my printer for, with tax, about, I want to say $850, and that really hurt. It is the most expensive printer I've ever bought. I have never invested this much into a printer, but it's definitely worth it, at least for my business and what I do. And I purchased my Caesar Juliet on sale actually from Michael's. So originally I think it's $4.99, but I was able to purchase it for $3.99. And I've actually noticed that both of these machines go on sale constantly, and sometimes they go more on sale or less. So I would definitely keep an eye out. I would also look for coupons. Michael's always has a coupon for, I feel like, everything. So definitely keep your eye on those prices. I was kind of sad because after I bought my printer, I think it was on sale for like $100 off. So that kind of sucked, but keep your eye out. That is how much I ended up paying for these two machines. Now let's talk a little bit about materials and the actual sticker itself. So I'm gonna go down the list of the things that I use. I use the Online Labels weatherproof matte sticker paper for inkjet printer, because this specific printer that I have is an inkjet printer. Get the standard 8.5 by 11 inch sheets, and something that I have actually upgraded this time around when it comes to making stickers at home is I am now laminating them. This is something that I did not know about whenever I used to make stickers at home, and the adhesive on the sticker paper is really great. It will really stay on, but without lamination, the ink will eventually start to rub off, especially on like high traffic or like high contact areas like a phone or a water bottle, which is where most people are putting stickers. So I would see that happen sometimes. That was another reason that I had switched over to manufacturing, but with this laminate now, I think that the ink will really stay on. I'm super impressed with how high quality this laminate is. So I use the Oracle Oragard 210 laminate sheets, and I personally buy them from Creative Craft online. So I will always pick the matte option because I'm a huge fan of matte stickers and matte finishes, but they have a lot of different finishes and a lot of different sizes. They also sell rolls actually of this laminate, so if you are making a lot of stickers, then maybe rolls are better for you, but I just get the 8.5 by 11 inch sheets just so it's like around the same size as the sticker paper. Now, as far as cost breakdown for these, and I will be looking at my computer screen because I have my notes. So a pack of 250 sheets of my sticker paper costs $157 with 82 cents. 250 sheets of the laminate cost $87.07. And then whenever we do the cost breakdown of how much each sheet or each sticker costs, adding those two numbers up and then dividing them by 250, it would mean that one sheet with the laminate is 96 cents. And then obviously, depending on how many stickers you can fit, because of how big you print them, is how much they will cost. So you would divide those 96 cents between the number of stickers that you are making. So if you are able to fit 6 stickers on a sheet, then each sticker would cost 16 cents to make, which is a huge cost decrease if you used to manufacture or are planning to manufacture. Now that I have yapped to you guys all about these machines, all about this cost breakdown and everything, now we can move on to the actual sticker making. Okay, so this is the interface that will come included with your Caesar cutter, and after you sign up and register your device, this is what your homepage will look like. You'll want to click on the little design tab down below and then click File, Import, and import your sticker design. You want to make sure you have print and cut selected. You can also mess with the DPI, but I personally just use auto, and then skip this part. You don't want to mess with it, at least I don't. And then it's going to analyze your image, and I always like to up the smoothing level because sometimes my outline will be a little bit rough, so I will go ahead and do that, get the cut line nice and smooth. And then I like to include a little bit of contour bleed, which basically just means like if the machine ends up cutting a little bit off, at least you have some bleed that will save you from having any white on your sticker. So I like to do that. And then you can just resize it where it says width and height when you have your image selected. And I wanted this sticker to be 2.5 inches tall. And then you just want to like nestle your sticker design as close to the margins as you can. You want to make sure that your lines are never red, or else they will not print on that sheet. They have to be black. And then I'm just arranging them by copying and pasting. I just don't want to go through editing the same image over and over again, and I'm trying to arrange them in a way that is close enough where I'm able to fit as many as possible, but also not too close because I don't want to confuse the machine. And then you also want to go ahead and save this as a project. I personally have a folder for all of my Caesar projects, and then you want to go ahead and send design, and you want to make sure your printer is selected. I selected my 8550 printer, send to printer. I personally need 40 copies of this sheet, so I put in 40 for quantity, and then under media and quality, you want to make sure to always put whatever your computer says as like the best quality. Sometimes it'll put like outstanding or whatever. For mine, it just says best, so I want to make sure to select that. That's all you gotta mess with when it comes to using this printer, at least on a Mac, and then we can get our little stickers printed. As far as printing settings go on the actual printer, whenever you load up your sticker paper, you are going to be prompted on the screen to select what type of paper you are putting in. And for this sticker paper, I personally use premium matte just to get the best colors and the best print possible. Now, after you have everything printed out, you want to get ready to go ahead and apply your laminate sheets. Personally, I use this Caesar scraping tool. You can also just get a credit card or anything similar. I like the scraping tool because it has a nice soft side, so it won't scratch the laminate at all. So applying this laminate is going to take a bit of practice. I personally like to peel back a small length of the backing paper and then fold it up just so I can align my laminate on the paper before fully setting it down. I know that sounds a little bit complicated. I have it here in real time for you guys to watch me do it. I am going to include a clip of me doing it fully in real time, and then there will be a few other times for you to watch me do it. It does take a bit of practice. Don't get discouraged. I would definitely practice on just like some blank sheets of paper. Still try to use the sticker paper because you never know how this adhesive will apply differently on different types of paper. But just do some practice runs. You know, don't be too hard on yourself. It involves a little bit of finesse, a little bit of calculation. For me specifically, I like to make sure that at the very edge I'm applying it all at the same time, that I don't apply the center first and then the sides. Just try to apply it as flat as possible. And then once I have that first bit on, I will start to slowly lay on the rest, slowly peeling back the paper while also pushing in with the applicator. Again, I know that sounds complicated, but just watch me do it. Trust me, you will get the hang of it. Sometimes you want to move slower, sometimes you want to move faster. You'll learn as you go how exactly these sort of air bubbles form on the laminate as you're applying it. So essentially the more practice you get, the faster that you can go, and you'll see me here going faster and faster as I progress down the page. But if you start getting air bubbles, that's sort of a sign to slow down and slowly squeegee them out. And then once you stop getting air bubbles, you can speed up again. Again, just do some practice. I promise you'll get the hang of it. I got the hang of it after a couple, probably like 40 pages, so it takes a while, but Just try to go slowly at first, and then you can like fully smooth everything out, make sure there's no bubbles or anything at the very end, and then you have your nice laminated sheet. Okay, so once you have all of your sticker designs laminated, it is go time. It is time to load these bad boys into the Caesar cutter. This is what the Caesar Juliet looks like. I have her on a shelf, and number one, you want to learn that this little crank is essentially what clamps down or releases your mat with your material. Clamping up, clamping down, got that down. Here are the mats that you will be using for your Caesar. One came with the Caesar Juliet, and then I also use these off-brand ones from Michaels. You can use any brand mat with the Caesar, which is great. Turn on that on button, and then you can open up the casing, I suppose it's called. Now we have a few components here that you gotta learn exactly what they're called to kind of follow the tutorial. But the blade, we have the blade that actually does the cutting. We have the little rollers, which are what clamp down on your mat and then also move it back and forth depending on what the machine needs. And then we have our touch screen, which is essentially how you control the machine. Loading your material onto a mat also takes a little bit of practice, but I usually try to get the corner aligned and then slowly apply the rest of the material. Now you want to lift up the clamp, and you're going to watch those rollers go up, and then you want to slide your mat all the way in. I'm about to show you in a little bit exactly how you want to align it. You want to align it with these little arrows that are on the left hand side, and then also make sure there's none hanging off the front door. And then for the wheel all the way to the right, you want to make sure it's like on the edge of your mat and not touching the glue. Now when it comes to actually sending your project, you want to go to the left hand side and click where it says cutting contours, and that'll take you to the cutting part of your project. And you want to make sure to select use cutter settings, and essentially what that'll do is it will use the settings that you have selected on the Caesar screen and not here on the Caesar interface. This is what the Caesar touchscreen looks like, and just to break down a few of the buttons for you, the arrows are what are going to move your rollers and your blade. Your rollers will move up and down, and then your blade will move side to side, and I'll show you guys exactly why that's important in a minute. And then of course your play button is like play the cutting job, and then we have our cut settings button, which is where all of the cut settings presets are stored. You can make your own or use some that come already programmed in your Caesar. And then the settings button I haven't had to touch yet. I think for that one you just use it to set up like your Wi-Fi connection and all of that. And then at the very bottom, the test cut button, I will show you guys what exactly that's for and how to use it. I am going to show you guys the cut settings that I personally use for my stickers. So like I said, there's a bunch that come preset with your Caesar, but I like to add my own. So I have a die cut and a kiss cut sticker setting set just to like remember the pressure that I like to use. Now, in my opinion, I think every machine is different, and it's always best practice to go ahead and test any new settings that you're using before working on a project. So to do that, you want to move your blade so that it's positioned in like a very small corner of the material that you'll be cutting, and then you just want to press the test cut. And essentially what that's going to do is it's going to use the settings that you've selected to test and see how well it's cut, and as long as it's cutting the way that you want it to, then you can send your project to be cut, and it will start reading the little calibration corners and it'll start the cut job. Okay, now let's set up a nice sticker sheet file to be cut. And the way that you want to export your sticker sheet artwork is you want to export everything that will be in the background as one artwork, as one PNG, and then you want to export everything that will be the actual stickers as another PNG without any of the backgrounds. So you want to set that up, and then you want to of course set your size like we did last time. I wanted mine to actually be 4 inches by 4 inches, so I changed it to that. Again, aligning it in that corner, trying to use as much of the space as possible. And then you are going to want to import your actual stickers once you have your backgrounds ready, and then you can mess around with the sizing and everything. But the most important part of importing your stickers that are going to be part of a sticker sheet, increasing the contour offset. And essentially what this means is you are going to be deciding how big you want the borders around these stickers to be. So if you want them to be super small or not even there, you can definitely do that. But I personally like to have kind of a small to medium border, so I set that with the contour offset, and then I resized my stickers to fit nicely how I designed them to on the sticker background. And yeah, essentially your artwork is set up. Now we can get into how exactly to tell the machine to cut certain parts of a project differently. So essentially what I do is I select my sticker artwork and I make sure that on the right hand side it says cut tool, and then for my background artwork, the little square, I make sure that it says full cut / perforation. And then you will see how I have my settings. For cutting tool, I have it like a kiss cut sticker, and then for full cut, I have it like a die cut sticker. And you'll see in a minute that I do send this as a cutting project a little bit differently. So whenever we were doing the die cut stickers, we had the use cutter settings box clicked, and that essentially just means that the settings that you have set on your touchscreen on your actual Caesar is what the cutter will use to do that cut job. But for this, we want to make sure that that is turned off, make sure that everything on the screen looks good, and then you can send it to cut. And that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. But before we close out, I wanted to talk about our sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is a longtime supporter of this channel, and if you do not know who they are an all-in-one platform where you can create your very own website. And it is the platform that I have always used to run my website, my online art business, and my portfolio. Running an online store with Squarespace is super easy. They have some really cool built-in tools to keep track of inventory, shipping, customer data. You can also create such a beautifully designed website with Squarespace. That's personally my favorite part. You can also take payments with Squarespace as well. So it's super nice that everything you need to run an online web store is on Squarespace, all in one place. And if you're interested in Squarespace, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and you can use my code for 10% off your first purchase.